How's it going? Welcome to the channel. We have a good video for you today. It looks like Ziz has come out with some feedback about endgame mapping. This is an area that I really don't know jack diddly squat about because I'm not there yet. I'm like what, almost 80 hours into the game and I'm still, okay, to be fair, I have been doing 2 different characters. I've put a good amount of time into a Sork, but still not there. So I am definitely super interested to see what a professional Path of Exile 2 player has to say about the state of the endgame, especially with the new changes. So let's take a look and see what he has to say.
Hi, Zizaran.
He's a Smurf! What happened? What happened? Man, and to get hair that blue, that's intense. He's got black hair. How did he get it that blue? Holy smokes. Okay. We got a Smurf Ziz.
Here with another video, and this is going to be a little bit about the state of mapping and just my experience with mapping. It'll be some tips. Yeah, just sort of like musing on my findings and maps in general. I guess I'll talk a little bit about that too. It'll be an endgame rant talk video. Wow, it's not very ranty because I'm quite enjoying it. And
That's
remember
good.
with all this, I've only played 1 build so far, which is the minion build. Very popular in hardcore, but obviously not even top 10 anymore on
Let's see what he's doing here. He's got... Okay, SRS, he's got 11... Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's nothing crazy. That's pretty typical. That's very similar to what I'm doing. Except I'm mostly built into arsonists. How does he have 9 arsonists? Holy smokes. How much spirit does he have? 400 spirit. I'm barely at 2. Okay, cool. That's dope. That's really cool though. Something to look forward to.
power level, which is crazy. People were like, wow, this build needs to be get nerfed, but now we're seeing like 5 to 10, maybe more different builds, like one-shotting the Ubers on the highest difficulty, which is kind of crazy. And definitely not like the power level a lot of people were expecting. I think the campaign really set the tone for the power level that people were expecting. But either way, I've been doing, today I did like another 15 Jin Barriers. I'm trying to get that, like, there's a crazy unique tool and it's called Against the Darkness. It's very cool.
Against the darkness. Okay, placing okay, jewel cycle on the passive. 2 random jewel modifiers. What is this?
If I list by most expensive, you can see some of the cool ones. So some might be overpriced or whatever, but some will probably be very...
Okay, so small passive skills in radius also grant +3 chaos resistance. Notable passive skills in radius also... Oh, okay. I wonder like what the radius is on that. I have to look at it on the map. That could be really good.
expensive. The one that I'm particularly trying to farm would be anything with spirit.
Yes! That's what I need. I need some spirit. That's pretty cool. So it's like 2 like kind of random modifiers, and then for every passive node in that area or within the radius, it gives you that buff. That's actually super cool.
So they'll give me roughly 100 extra spirit from a jewel.
That'd be dope.
So there's a lot of different cool mods on that. Very cool. I've been farming that all day. I'll talk more about Sanctum later because I really want to talk about maps. In maps, you start out at tier 1s and it's very clear progression. It's like first do 10 tier 1 maps, then do 10 tier 2s, etc. And the closer you get to tier 15s, you start having to do less maps. I think it's like 8 and then 6 on the last few tiers. And you start getting Atlas points. And Atlas point wise, I went over here first. Then I went over here, and then I took this stuff last. A lot of people really like this on softcore. It's incredibly strong. Let's talk about...
Yeah, this Atlas map is a lot easier to understand than the original Atlas map. The other Atlas map, the one from PoE 1, it's much more daunting to look at. So from what I understand, they definitely like streamlined it and made it more accessible, and it looks like it's more accessible, at least from what I've seen of it. So
this insect, but once you start filling this in, the bosses will become a lot harder. Noticeably very tanky. Like when I started doing normal content again, after having done +4 bosses, I was like, wow, these are disappearing. But I particularly want to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, it's really cool how they've got all the different mechanics separated out into their own trees. That's a huge W. That simplifies things so much.
This node. absolutely love it. It's one of the best things in my opinion. I am on solo self-found, and it's so good. Particularly the grass biomaps have 40% increased chance to drop socketed currency.
That is
All of
good.
my 6 things, and I've found 5 or 6 now, have been in those areas. Now, a lot of people will be like, well, how do you know what is in which area? And it is pretty self-explanatory, where like, you know, mire, it's a swamp. It sounds like a swamp. It's in a bit of a swampy area. This one's a little bit more obvious. But yeah, steppe, I believe that's also a swamp. Now, I'm not 100% sure about indoor maps. Is this a crypt in a swamp? So I'm not 100% sure. And there are some, like, side to side mire can be forest as well. So there is some ambiguity there. There are some that can be both. Like savanna, I believe, can be both grasslands and desert, for example. I think oasis can only be desert. But you get a rough idea at least. Some might be either. Desert's probably the clearest. Deserted, hive, blooming field is here in grasslands. And this influences what you get.
And that's super cool. It's super cool that the maps that you can do are geographic. And I mean, that makes sense. But it's a lot better than having like basically an instance where it's just like in the old system where you just have your map and then it's for a specific area. I like the geographic area because it kind of forces you to play different maps instead of just like spamming, kind of like if you have a specific one you really like. It creates a little more variability. I like that, at least personally. I like that. I think that's a W. It's super cool. And you get visual progression too. You can actually see, and it gives you long-term goals because you pick kind of where you want to go and then you map your way to it, as opposed to just, you know, putting it in and then, you know, spawning the portals and going to your map. This is so much cooler. So much cooler.
So I've been farming like that a lot. Whenever I need barriers, I will be focusing on desert. Whenever I need grass, or sorry, socket currency, I'll be focusing on grass. And like swamps, while they don't have the best layouts, they do drop a lot of currency. 2 of my divines, I think, were from that. So it does seem to have a pretty noticeable drop rate. Now, I do not have any rarity, sadly. I've just not been able to fit that on my gear. It's unfortunate because I'm seeing people with similar playtime to me have literally like shit tons of divines on solo self-found, but they are playing with like 200, 300, 400 rarity.
And that's the thing, like for me, is that I haven't seen hardly any rarity on gear like to begin with. I've seen a little bit. It's not like super uncommon, but it's not, I don't know. It doesn't seem very common to me. It's hard to find gear with rarity. And when I roll gear, I've never once rolled rarity on a single piece of equipment ever in PoE 2. And I've done a significant amount of rolling, at least as much as I can. So yeah, and if rarity is that important for currency, they need to make it more available or just increase the currency drops. They did increase it, but maybe they need to increase it a little bit more. I don't know. But yeah, you kind of have to run with rarity. And if the end game is as punishing as they say it is, then giving up that slot in order to get rarity as opposed to getting power, that's kind of an L. I don't know. Not a big fan of that.
It affects your gold, your currency, sadly, and just you're getting more rares. Like at that point, you actually have to hide rares. I'm not playing the game with 0 rarity. Is definitely a very different experience, but I'm getting a lot of 6 things at least. Now, some people will be curious about map sustain. I did do a video on mapping tips and tricks and stuff like that, but generally what I'm doing, I'm going from tower to tower. I'm target farming breach right now. I'm particularly focusing on increased waystone drops, increased quantity, anything like that, and then just additional breaches. And I'm currently target farming breach to get a hand of wisdom in action. It's a really cool glove. It used to be a club, but it looks like this. Very cool. Good for stat stacking. I want to try a new build that I haven't seen anyone do with that, because there are a lot of different builds you can do with it. Another thing that I've been doing that's helped me a lot, especially saving my tier 16 maps, which is tier 15s that are evolved. So I have 1 tier 16 here, so I'm going to put this in whenever
That's cool. Okay, cool. So the way you get a tier 16 map is by having a tier 15 and then, you know, throwing a vol at it. That's pretty cool. See, I didn't even know that was possible.
Actually, I have an example here. I don't really like running the monkey that much. I've not had any problems with it. Just too many other people have had problems with it for me to want to do the monkey boss.
I will say one thing I'm noticing as he's like going through this, he's looking for something specific and he's dragging the map all over the place looking for that specific thing. That feels like a pain in the butt. There needs to be some kind of search function for this. Is there? I'm looking all over his screen. I don't see one, but there really needs to be some search function so you can actually just type in what you're looking for and it will highlight, just like your passive tree, it'll highlight the things you're looking for, because it looks cool and I love the map layout, but they need to make it easy to find what you are looking for as opposed to dragging your screen all over the place. So I don't know. I think just by looking at it, I haven't played it. Obviously, I'm not there yet, but just by looking at it, it looks like a search function would be helpful. Then he wouldn't be dragging, the map all over the place looking for what he needs.
Boss. I am working on a spreadsheet of what boss is in what area too, but if you see here, this has the irradiated, but also the beyond and the boss. So if I put the tier 16 map in here, it's a tier 18 map and it's an 82. And that's how I got my first level 20 gem. This was really huge for me in Soul Self 1. It was a very noticeable damage boost, and level 20 gems can be really rare. Now, a lot of people said they did like 15, 20 plus level 20 16 maps in things like this and didn't get one, so I probably got crazy lucky on my first level 20 gem, but that is what I'm going to do. I save all my tier 16s for these. I don't run a single tier 16 outside of basically these double +1 maps, so that's pretty big, been really good for me. I also try to get some towers that affect my quantity, things like that. Obviously there's not really anything that gives plus gem drops. I think. Is mapping fun? I'm enjoying it quite a lot. I'm enjoying ritual. The rewards are a little bit, I'm mostly hunting the boss. I really wish omens would be way higher drop rate. Expedition's my least favorite. Or delirium. Actually, both expedition and delirium are super annoying for different reasons. Expedition, I just never find any logbooks, even when I'm like actively trying to get the logbook boost. But very frustrating experience. And the crafting itself is kind of whatever. I guess that's very RNG. I just haven't had much success with the crafting, so a little bit frustrating there.
One thing I will say about the different mechanics, like he's talking about expedition and stuff like that, is they do a horrible job, absolutely horrible job of explaining what the different mechanics are and how they work. They do so bad at it. Like essence, like you just suddenly find essence mobs. There should be some kind of beat or story or something that explains what this is. It's like, oh, this is interesting. What do? I wonder how many new players run around these essence mobs that are like frozen and they don't know what to do with them, so they do nothing. They just run past them. It's like, well, that's cool. Like, what do I do? Like they're clicking and they just happen to not click on the correct guy. You know what I mean? Like they need to implement more tutorial stuff, especially with league mechanics that are, not naturally taught through the progression of the campaign. They significantly need to increase, or improve, not increase. They need to improve the way they teach through their tutorial systems.
Delirium. The frustration is that whenever the boss spawns, I don't know if Kosis exists in PoE 2, if that's just a PoE 1 thing, but I've only seen the other one. First, the bar shows up really early, and I don't really know exactly where he is. He should have a map marker, first of all. And every time he's despawned, like it doesn't pause the fog, and it's really frustrating. Even if like I have a really good damage build, and the fog is just so fast. Other times it's bugged and the fog doesn't move. So too many bugs with Delirium, didn't really enjoy it. Don't know how rare the higher oils are. I don't really have any of the higher oils, even though I'm only running into tier 15. I mostly have low ones. It's a very crazy disparity though between tier 15s, and I can talk about this too, and low level maps. Also, the way you get these, you start by doing a first tier 15 map. Then you have to do a tier 15 map with a +1. Then you have to do a tier 15 map with a +2. And then you have to do a tier 16 map with a +2. So that's how you get those. And my last 2 points, they would be from killing the boss.
Okay, so this is something I didn't know. For getting your Atlas points, there's certain conditions, it looks like. So if you want to know the conditions, you hover over the little number here, and then it tells you the condition. And then once you complete the condition, then it gives you a point for that atlas. So basically, again, more goals. Goals are great. It's good to have missions and goals. Gives people a sense of purpose and, you know, progression, which is awesome. So that's really cool. That's a really good mechanic. I like that one a lot. That's cool.
At level 0. So I went for quantity of items. Chance to drop a waystone. Area contains an essence, and then bosses are irradiated, gives you +1. You really notice the map difficulty. You really notice it. Now the drops are pretty potent. When I'm running tier 15s now, it is magnitudes more drop than tier 1 to 14s really. Like, I like, especially if you have rarity, it's crazy. Like, people are dropping exalts and divines like that. Rarity's definitely overtuned. Even without that, it's so crazy. And I think a part of that is we as a community, we were complaining about the drops without having seen tier 15s. Nobody was at tier 15s. We hit this insane wall in tier 1 maps, and we were like, this is not it. And I think the buff was really good for and healthy for like early maps and the campaign, but they might have overdone it a little bit for tier 15 maps. And I'm sure a lot of people that specifically are in tier 15 maps with a pretty min-maxed atlas and they're doing towers are like, yeah, we're probably dropping a little bit too much. It's very much towards PoE 1 levels there. But I think earlier than that, like tier 1 to 13s especially, was pretty okay.
That's actually a good, that's a good point. Because that shift from having a currency drought to now getting some stuff, and then as people are getting into the late game, like it takes a long time to get into the late game to get this deep. I wonder what percentage of people are actually, you know, at the point where they're running tier 15 maps. I feel like I've been no-lifing this game. I mean, I'm a dad. I've got a full-time job. Like, and then when I have any free time, I am playing this game. I am no-lifing this game in the moments, you know, when I have time to no-life it. And that's the thing is, like, I wonder how many people aren't even done with the campaign. I wonder how many people aren't even done with the first 3 acts because of how long it takes and how little time people generally have. I mean, an average person, a normal person, someone who's not watching, you know, spending a lot of time focused on this stuff, who's casually playing, which is the most, you know, majority of people, honestly, they get maybe 30 minutes to an hour a day, maybe, for video games. So, I mean, at this point, when did it release? What's today's date? Today is the 22nd as I'm recording this. So, I mean, that's not a lot of time. It came out on the 6th, you know, so some people have like 30 hours into it if they've been playing every day and, you know, a little over an hour a day, you know. So most people aren't even, you know, into Cruel yet. I wouldn't say most people aren't into Cruel, but there are plenty of people who aren't. So this fact that tier 15 maps are dropping a ton of currency, this is a 1% of players issue. This is not something that the majority of players are experiencing because the majority of players aren't even there yet. So, I mean, good problem to have. They can dial it back a little bit. But I still feel like the currency drops aren't good enough for early game, at least not for new players. And power progression, you know, just options for power progression. Currency is important. So the buff has been good. I think it still needs to go up a little bit, but yeah, because very few people have this issue of too much currency. No one's in tier 15, or not no one. Very few people are in tier 15. So
and didn't feel over the top. But, I mean, I spent 40 minutes in one map because there was so much to loot and stuff, and I'm SSF, so I'm a little bit loot hungry, more than I should be probably. And I used all 6 portals, and I was IDing gear in the map and just looking at stuff. So, tier 15s is crazy.
Yeah, I think that's a problem too, is IDing gear in the maps and then the limited number. I wish they had some way, something you could do to make it so you don't have, because that's the thing, is being a pack mule is not fun. It's not fun going, picking up a bunch of gear, taking it to town, going and picking up a bunch of stuff, going back to town, like, or between your hideout. Like, it's not fun to pack mule. There should be an easier way. The inventory is so tiny for Path of Exile for what you can carry. You know what I mean? That's one thing I would say D4 does better is you can carry more stuff in D4. Every item takes the same amount of space, you know, and that's a D2 thing. You know, it harkens back to the roots of this where, you know, equipment has, it takes up different space, and that's fine. But you can carry so little, so few items. It's frustrating. It's annoying. I wish they would make the inventory bigger, let you carry more stuff, or make the items take up less space. You know what I mean? That would be nice. So, anyways, yeah. But that's that. I could see that being a huge problem. Pack muling it sucks.
There's also a big power imbalance in some builds. There are people that are still struggling through the game, and then you have a lot of other people that are literally one-shotting Ubers at level 5. And level 5 has crazy health, by the way. So we already have people doing millions of damage per second. Like, I think there's people doing over 10 million per second already.
Yeah, and that's a big problem too. That's a game design problem where the start of the game should not feel more difficult than the end of the game. You know what I mean? It's like there's some kind of wrong there. But I'm not a game designer, so I don't know how to balance that. But yeah, the beginning of the game is definitely more difficult, especially Act 2. Act 2 is brutal. The first time through it for a new player, it's so brutal, so difficult. But yeah, and then on the other side, as far as balance goes, it's like, well, how do you make it easier for the people in the early game, and then in the end game, you got people one-shotting Ubers. You know what I mean? Like that's insane. So maybe that's okay though. You know what I mean? That's the reward of the, 80 hours you put into this one character. Now you've invested all this time, all this energy into getting your build right, and now you're in God mode. Honestly, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I know some people do, but yeah, I don't know. When nerfing a couple of the top builds, nerfs, makes it more difficult for people in the early game. That I don't know how. I don't know. How do you balance that? I don't know, but that's a really good point. They probably should do something about it. I'm kind of torn on it. I don't know. I'm in the middle.
Even the build I'm playing now does not look very crazy compared to the builds people are playing. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Somebody in chat just reminded me, 137 million DPS. I think it's the current record, which I don't think many people are expecting in the early access, because we saw the campaign, and from their interviews and what they were talking about, the campaign was what I was expecting the game to be. I was not expecting people to be one-shotting Ubers. It'll be interesting to see like when they come back over the break. I don't mind too much either way though, I will say.
Oh yeah, because they're out of office. They're gonna be out of office for a while, so no changes until they get back.
Because I really enjoy PoE 1, and this is now more similar to PoE 1, and I really enjoy PoE 2. So, and I enjoy games like Elden Ring. So for me, I don't know. I honestly, it doesn't really matter. I'm just like musing out loud, and also I would love to hear what other people think. Like, were you hoping for a more slow-paced game like Elden Ring? And are you happy with the fact that people are already doing 130 million damage? Do you think that they should just move everything up to 130 million? I definitely don't think that. I think I'm doing roughly 1 million per second right now. Maybe like 500k per second. Finding citadels is awful. Not being able to zoom out on the map is awful. Not being able to put markers down is pretty.
That's one thing I was gonna say. Is I'm like, why isn't he zooming out farther? It's like, it's one of those things. That's a good test of what should be possible in UI and stuff like that, especially zoom, is like when someone tries to do it and they can't. Like, how often does that happen? How many people do you think look at this map at this is fully zoomed out, right? How many people do you think look at this map the way it is and then try to zoom out more? I guarantee tons of people try to zoom out more because this is very zoomed in. And honestly, I think they need to make the regular game, make it so you can zoom out even further than you currently can. I think the zoom needs to, have a good kick backwards a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but I think you should be able to zoom out farther. And this too. It would also help with getting one-shotted off your screen, by certain mechanics. So if you can see it, then it's not an issue. At least not as much, because then you can do something about it. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason why you can't zoom out. Maybe clutter. With how small these icons are already, I could see like the more you zoom out, they'd have to keep the icons, you know, the size they are. Or maybe they'd have to do something where they combine them and just show more minor details. Or maybe a filter. I don't know. I could see it, you know, the farther you zoom out, the dots would move together, be closer together. So could be a clutter thing. I don't know. But they definitely need to make it possible to zoom out.
Pretty rough. And crafting, I honestly don't know how I feel. And I kind of want to like wait with that. Because a lot of people are like, don't you wish scours and alterations were back in? And I'm like, I definitely enjoyed PoE 1 crafting more. But I...
No. Yes, bring back the scours. I want scours because it's, again, the items get bricked so often and they're expensive. And then you have to wander around and hopefully find a new version of that item, a white version of the item, or an item that already has, you know, the modifiers you want in it. Bring back scouring orbs. Bring them back, please.
I really want DDD to see, like, can they make something different be really interesting in PoE 2? Because I'd be okay with that. I don't currently like it, but that doesn't mean that it has to stay back.
You know what I think would be really good for crafting is being able to lock specific affixes and prefixes. So when you're doing a chaos orb or something like that, and again, I didn't get super deep into crafting in PoE 1 for reasons, mostly because it was overwhelming. But being able to, like, if you really like a specific thing, to lock that in, so that way if you do a chaos orb or something like that, or even a scouring orb, if they do that, like, to be able to slowly build an item over time, I think that would be really cool, because then you can put one item that you're working on and slowly build it, locking things in until you get the item you're looking for, that you're trying to build over time. Because either that or bring back scouring orbs, you know, because it's just so annoying to brick an item and then to disenchant it and then to be on the hunt for another one as you're mapping. Like, I just want to work on one item. You know what I mean? It's just unnecessary extra grind. It's not fun.
Bad kind of thing. I don't know. It definitely makes, like, when you actually hit an item, a lot more fun. Although, like, oh my god, not being able to replace runes is awful. Rares,
Yeah,
they should probably have that. There
sucks.
can be 1 or 2 rares left and the map can be completed. I don't know. Having to full clear and seeing a rare all the way back to start is very anti-fun for me. Hopefully I'm not the only one that thinks that. Now, I haven't done much ultimatum, but I will talk a little bit about Trial of the Sakama. This is what I'm running right now, because I'm on a pretty strong build. So I'm running a lot of quantity of relics dropped. That means that the boss at the end is dropping 2 relics. But if you do loads of...
Oh my gosh, dude. I'm so dumb. Oh, I'm so dumb. There's a reason. There's a reason the path. Oh my gosh. There's a reason the name of the channel is Brain Dead. Okay. This is so bad. Yeah, I have a bunch of relics. I didn't even consider putting multiples of them in here. I just had one. Oh my gosh. I feel so stupid. Oh, that was so dumb.
I'd recommend what I was running to make it very easy was the merchant has 2 additional choices twice. Very, very good. I had 2 of those. And I had one with like this with, well, try to get 75 max honor and then movement speed after that. It's very easy to get because I had like overkill. I had more than I needed. I actually think I accidentally had 95% max honor. But yeah, right now I'm just running quantity of relics dropped. So really, really good.
That's cool.
And remember, if you're struggling in a room, you can log out, try it again. It won't like reset your run. But the honor you lost in that room will be lost, so you can obviously still lose. But super fun to farm Sanctum. I've mostly been farming for that unique jewel that I showed, and then these. They're very strong. I have not found that many. They're very rare, and you can still get the run spectrums. But it takes me roughly 30 to 40 minutes to do a run right now, and I think I've done 20, 25. So yeah, I'm enjoying running that. Kind of run out. I think I have 1 Barrier left. Yeah, 1. And I'll probably run more of those. But yeah, either way, I hope you guys enjoyed my map/endgame rant, and let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. Again, like, it'll probably be based on what you play, how you play, etc. And again, remember, all of this is from minion point of view in tier 15s. So either way, thanks for watching. So if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.
There you go. There it is. Good old Ziz and his blue hair, man. That caught me by surprise. Was not expecting that. That's a good video, man. Good video. Link will be in the description. So head on over there, check it out, drop it a like. Man, Endgame. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm so close. So once I get there, I'm probably going to put out, in a couple of weeks, give them a little more time, make a few changes. I'll put out my own kind of reaction, my own thoughts. But yeah, guys, thanks for joining in. And if you like the video, leave a like. Feel free to subscribe. Doesn't hurt to push the button. It actually helps me a lot as a new channel. So anyways, leave a comment and I will catch you in the next one. All right, bye.